Good morning, everyone. This is Blab Nation, and welcome to the show this morning. I am Leland Best, your guest host today, in place for Jonathan Tripp, who's on the road somewhere up in the East Coast area. I don't know if he's at New York City hosting the Today Show today, or if he's just out on personal business. No, actually, I think he's out in the New Hampshire area doing his thing. So he asked that I take over, and we're going to cover a brief topic today that's close and near and dear to my heart, which is you want to become a co-host. We're going to touch on some of those aspects here today, and my guest host, or I shouldn't say guest host, my co-host, out of his graciousness, because I happen to catch him in the room first thing here this morning, is Tim Gillette, the rocker life coach, host of the Tim Gillette Show. Tim, thanks for joining me today. I do appreciate it.
Here to have fun, I hope, because, guys, that's part of the thing, is you got to be able to have fun doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah, if we can't have fun, then what is the purpose of being here? It's just there's no reason to have a show if it's not for fun on live streaming. I've been out here. I was kind of new to these newer platforms were kind of fun to me, because when I started live streaming a few years ago, I was on Hangouts on Air. And I basically was kind of in the webinar mindset. I was all about recording some live stuff now and then for training purposes. I would get out there and just get that link juice going through Hangouts and record while I was doing it so that I would have it for prosperity's sake. And I wasn't so concerned about my live audience. But then there was the whole webinar thing that came around, and a lot of people were doing webinars starting out that way. And I did host some of those myself, and I co-hosted others or just played into a lot of those. And yeah, I agree with NC Roxanne. Hangouts did kind of get old. The delay, I think it was the delay that bothered me the most, that you didn't have a direct connection with your audience all the time. There was that separation anxiety, I think, that went on. That it was always, did you get my message? Did you hear what I said? Can everybody give me a 1 in the chat to let me know you just heard what I said? And you'd sit there and wait, and it was like, okay, I guess they can hear us. Let's keep going. And then you just talked, and everybody just sat there and played around in the chat while you were doing it. Yeah, Ustream's another one, Mike. I actually still have a Ustream account, believe it or not. Tim, have you ever used Ustream?
Not used Ustream, no.
No. Well, regardless of the platform, when we try to produce a show, one of the biggest things that we discover in these newer platforms is there's a lot of stuff going on. It's just not about getting up on a screen and starting to talk and bring up a topic and be that voice piece that doesn't shut up for an hour. You know, I have the ability to do that. You guys all know that. Tim, I'm sure you're capable of running a show all by yourself. You've done it long enough that, you know, and it does take some expertise.
I'm good at running my mouth off for an hour.
That's the thing. And yeah, I don't want people out there to ever get discouraged for the fact that when you experience what Tim and I bring to a show, I have 2 years of radio and television training. I have manager training. I have cable TV training. I have studio work on cable network training. So this isn't about you guys trying to do what that you see Tim and I doing. Tim and I have the experience. We have the knowledge. We've done this before from a professional perspective. I was a DJ for a few years. So I've been at several venues. I've been in front of hundreds of people. I've dealt with all the recording and broadcasting equipment. I've had to put my hands on all those things. Tim, same thing. So when you come out here and think you're going to do a co-host for somebody's show, it may seem overwhelming, and it may be like, oh my God, I can't do that. But you can. You don't require the tools. Tim, what do we need nowadays to run a live stream platform? Do we need all these mixers and boards? No. All we need is a microphone and a camera. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. I mean, I have all that stuff. I could turn my camera.
I don't have any of it.
Yeah, I know. You've got a nicer mic than I do. I'm just using this thing right here right now. So obviously it comes down to that. But
I started my first radio show with that set of speakers and wire thing that everybody does attached to my Mac. That's my laptop at that.
So where do we go? I mean, when it comes to a show, we don't need any fancy equipment. We need a topic. We need the venue. So we have the venue. We've got the platform. This has all been given to us for free by Blab and several others like Periscope and Snapchat and others coming on the way like Go Live with and several others I'm sure are going to follow up after that. So Scope Chat. All right, I see something going in the screen over here. What are your thoughts on Scope Chat? I've never even heard of Scope Chat. And there's another one I saw come out like IU Live or LU Live or Love You Live or whatever it is. There's another one out there. It's an app for your phone. And, there's live Twitter, there's live Facebook, there's, you name it. Meavy, whatever happened to Meavy? I heard a lot of talk about that. Did that just kind of crumble or what? They didn't pay their bill?
I don't know. I have the app, but I've not used it, so.
Yeah, it just kind of.
I hardly ever use Periscope. The past 2 weeks I've been in writing mode, so I've not been on much.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you're a busy man. And that is something a lot of people don't consider was the writing aspect of a show. Do we develop scripts? Do we come up with I usually develop a small outline when I have a really, important guest that's coming out on the show. Did I write anything up for today? Do you see it? That's something else. This is what there you go. That's what I wrote for today. Okay, that's the show today, folks. You got that, all right? Just so you understand.
There's my webinar later.
Oh, there you go. See, and that's what you got to do. When you're going to produce a show, you should have some knowledge of what it is you're going to say, what it is you're going to cover, the topics you're going to explain to people, because you want to be able to present yourself in such a way that you develop question and answer, that you get people's minds rolling, that people are going to say, oh, yeah, I meant to ask, well, how do you do this and how do you do that? So that's going to be part of the purpose here today so you want to be a co-host. I think in that question in and of itself opens up the opportunity for everyone out there who's ever considered being a co-host to say, yeah, I want to be a co-host, but how do I do this? Or what do I do here? Or when do I do this? So that's really the purpose for today's show. And Tim, just kind of keep an eye on the chat for me if you wouldn't mind. If we do miss any questions that don't get /queued. So please, if you have a question that you want us to address here on Blab Nation today, use the /Q prior to your statement, and that will put it in a box and quote it so that we can see it over on the left-hand side of our screen. And we'll be sure to throw it out here in the forefront like we're going to with Shannon's question from earlier, which says, what are your thoughts on Scope Chat? I have no thoughts on Scope Chat because...
What's Scope Chat?
That is... I don't know what Scope Chat is. Tim, do you have speakers on?
I do, yeah. Are they echoing?
I'm hearing them in my headset. It might not be obvious to the rest of the folks, but I can pick it up a little bit.
I've got to go dig a headset out. I don't have one up handy here, so...
That's fine. You can break off whenever you need to. No big deal. So... Shannon, you can view people who are watching your scope. So it's basically another Periscope type thing or what? That's what it sounds like. Oh, there we go. Scope Chat. As they come in. Oh, wow. While you're scoping, you see a chat roll, huh? Interesting. Well, take a look at that. That's new to me. I've never heard of it. So my T-shirt is too much. You like my T-shirt, Megan? The Blab team loves me. No, honestly, you can get your swag if you just go. I don't know. Zeph, didn't you leave the link one time to find Blab swag? Was that you that pushed us out there? Hey, what are you swearing about, Grammy? Chill a little bit, would you? You're getting all upset over there.
They were doing things every now and then where they were giving away the Blab swag, and like my shirt, we're figuring Brittany sent me a shirt, and we're figuring that was in my mailbox that got broken into and stolen. So they're hot topics, man. They're stealing it right out of the mailbox.
You're kidding me. Wow, that's crazy. No, yeah, they were something that were announced at certain intervals. They were like, okay, we got 1,000 of them. If you want your Blab swag, you better jump now or you're not going to get one. So I got mine about a month ago, and I've got like the little Blab, they give you the little Blab sticker, and I've got these things that wrong headphones. I've got them on the ends of my headphones, the two little owl stickers that go on either end. So they have the hoodie now too. So if you haven't seen, every now and then on Twitter, they've been paying for an ad that goes across. I think it was an ad. It looked like an ad that pops up every now and then. But you should be able to check like Blabtastic's tweet page or at Blab and see if they have a link to where you can buy the T-shirt and the hoodie. They were given to us free just at the beginning of the year around Christmas time. So we got lucky.
She was Brittany's trying to send me one because I was going to be speaking and I was going to wear it on stage and send her a picture, and then
nice.
It got stolen. I'm like, sorry.
God, that sucks, man. And they are nice shirts. They're thick, well-made shirts. They're comfortable. They're of course 100% cotton tees, but working great.
Because I don't wear T-shirts other than what's underneath. I always wear a button shirt. So, see, Bonnie L. Frank, see, I have a button shirt on.
All right, Roxanne asks another question. What do you think about people learning Hangouts to practice Blab interviews? I don't. I don't think that's a good idea because they are two totally different platforms. They work totally different. If you want to get your voice and if you want to get comfortable in front of a camera, just use your camera utility. Or if you have to use Hangouts because you don't have a simple camera utility, yes, go ahead and use Hangouts as a means to record yourself. But I would recommend you do it with your own software. Many of the platforms, if you go out and search for video recording software, you can find pretty much a ton of stuff that is free. Or you can go to your local Best Buy for $39. I think you can buy Corel's Professional Studio Pro version, which I have in the background. I use that all the time for screen capture and for personal recording. And let me give you a hint of advice. When you're learning to record for your first few times, record yourself, watch it, and then delete it. Forget about it. Don't let it bother you. Don't think that, because the most uncomfortable sensation you're ever going to get is being in front of a camera and judging yourself. Don't do it. It's not what Camtasia is another one, but it's expensive.
I'm of the belief you've got Blab. You're already on here. If you've got a camera and a microphone, do a non-recorded test Blab of yourself. Just, grab some people in, pull an interesting subject, and sit and talk to them about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Test zone. Exactly, Grammy. And
right.
I've done that when I first was like, I'm not sure I want to try this. So I got on and played with it. It's just like my first radio show. When I did my first radio show, I can tell you there was 14 people who listened to it. And I think I can tell you almost everyone who they were. You know what I mean? They knew me, But I was all worried about, what am I going to sound like? Am I going to do this right? Who cares? Everybody who's ever seen you screw up is listening to the first one. Your mother, your father. Okay, they've seen every screw up you've ever done. Just go do it. Go try it. Get out there. You know what I mean? That's half the thing. As you can tell, I've been doing it for years. I still sound like I'm unprofessional at times. I still throw my ums and uhs in there. I never do Toastmasters or anything.
Toastmasters, yeah, I hear you there. And that's kind of like me. Nobody's perfect. I mean, come on. You see, if you were to see the blooper reels of recorded shows on television, like any of the real professional networks, honestly, those guys are screwing up all the time. And when it comes to post-production, that's why it looks so good on these, delayed shows where you don't really see the broadcast until the next day. There's nothing perfect about it. So don't let people fool you in that regard. And even some of the fact that some of the delays, there are delays on some of the live shows also, so that they can catch the bloopers, so they can beep out the swearing and all that other stuff. And I don't have my recorder up today. I was going to play around with the sound effects today, and I totally forgot to load it up. I was distracted this morning. So.
I will say, you know what I mean? If you're going to be on there for your first time on camera, okay, make sure you have pants on. I've actually was watching.
I knew I forgot something today.
I was watching a Blab one time where the person didn't have pants on, and they get up and walk past a mirror, and the mirror was visible. And I'm like, oh gosh, did you guys just see that? Really?
I can only. It would embarrass me if I were to tell you how many times I sit in here in my long johns while I'm on Blab, because I do it quite often. I can't help myself. I get up if I'm crawling out of bed like 2 minutes before the show starts and I'm supposed to co-host. I'm like wetting my head and I'm jumping in the seat and firing it up and going, okay, I'm here. It's like, you don't want to know what's going on below here, but I'm here. Everybody, let's just keep going. So if anybody is really interested in doing a show and they've never hosted a show or they've never co-hosted a show, I'm always open to anyone that wants to do a show. I'm sure Tim's available on an irregular basis if anyone needs help and wants to sit down. Jonathan's the same way. We're more than available if you guys pick a time slot other than 10 a.m., of course, and want to go sit down and run a blab or try it out and see what it feels like. Ask us to be your co-host. You know, all we need to do is show up, and all you need to do is give us a little bit of notice ahead of time so that we can accommodate. I intend at some point to probably fire up a show. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it or what time I'm going to do it or what platform I'm going to do it on. So, and if you guys haven't seen me around lately, it's not because I've obviously walked away from Blab Nation. I'm right here. I'm sitting here as your host today, guest host, obviously. I have picked up some work that has kept me very busy. So if you guys know Cliff Bodenweiser out here on Blab, him and I have teamed up our corporations to work together to do some support work for PC work. So we're very busy right now, and you'll see us on and off again. You'll see me in here on Blab when I can make it. And Jonathan and I are still in touch behind the scenes. So don't think that I've just walked away from Blab Nation. So with that being said, I'm not sure what Roxanne was getting at. She said, not me, to make sure the interview will go smooth. We're going to let Donnie in here for a minute.
Donnie said she wanted to come in, so.
Well, sure she can. Grammy Donnie's welcome anytime. Hello, Grammy.
Okay, I want you to notice that most days, oh dear, I'm getting a whole black up.
Wow.
Just try clicking your mute button on yourself there.
I got it.
Okay. That's a little trick, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know that.
Most days I get up, I'm like you, Leland. I'm usually sitting here in my pajama shirt and I've barely brushed my hair, and I get on before the camera. And I get on after the camera. I don't get on during the camera. This morning I knew that I would be on the camera. You'll notice that I look just, slightly different.
Lovely.
I guess everybody else has got the slicked hair. I need to redo my hair.
Okay, first of all, Roxanne was asking about getting somebody on Google Hangouts to practice with someone else doing an interview. And yeah, I think you can do that, but I think a pure.in is a lot easier to get into. It works better. Yeah. Like what Tim said, put them in a blab in the test zone and do it that way so they get used to the software and the interaction and all that stuff. It's not there are a lot of different ways to do it. I know that Zoom, I'm not a fan of Zoom, so I don't use it so much, but I put my dad, who is 78 years old, into an appear.in room. He is tickled pink because it works so much better than Hangouts does. It's amazing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And just to clarify, they're two totally different platforms. WebRTC is built into the browser programming, where Hangouts on Air isn't associated at all with WebRTC. It's not the same process. It's not the same production level. And it's actually doing a lot more. And the reason for the delay on Google Hangouts is the fact that it breaks down the post-processing of the video into all the different definitions, from as low as 320 DPI up to high def, up into 1080, so that it can when you go to a YouTube video, you have the choice to select what your viewing is as to the resolution. That's because it's doing all that processing in the background, and that's why there's this almost 60-second delay in some cases, because it's doing all the background work. So totally different process. WebRTC is live, direct, in your face through the browser, and it's all processed at that immediate moment in time. So big difference.
The reason I wanted to pop in here, Leland, is because I am having my very first Blab show next Tuesday night. And
I saw that.
I thought I was fine. The closer it gets, the less fine I am. And so I just am I'm really nervous, and it's just me and the guest, and I'm not expecting a whole lot, except that Jonathan is my first guest because he is, nice. The most darling man in the world. And then of course you're second, and I guess Tim would be third.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
But so I have done a test zone. I called all my kids up and said, get on this. And they're my kids. And so they do what I tell them. I have messed around with, making somebody a co-host and blocking them and all of that. what do I really need to know technology-wise to do this? I mean, what else do I need to know about the behind-the-scenes stuff? What do you, because you sit there, Leland, and you do a lot of stuff. I know you do.
Well, yeah, but it depends on what you're trying to do. You know, with me, I guess the big thing is make sure when you come out here to do a show that you're not open with 12 or 20 windows going on in the background, because obviously that's going to degrade your signal. It's going to reduce the ability for your machine to keep up with the processing of the video. So that's one thing I always recommend for somebody is don't have a video page running in the background. Like right now, I'm actually running a broadcasting overlay to get the lower third and the scrolling. Yeah. So I'm running another video screen that's running video in the background, but thank God I just upgraded my machine with a new 6-core processor. So I'm able to do this now. Before, with my last machine, I was in no way capable of producing this type of content here on Blab. As far as the technical aspects go, there's not much to it. As long as you understand how the commands work in the chat, that you can inform people in your show how they can follow those up above on the icons, how they can select on the little eye to get a list down the side of all the follow buttons, how they can ask a question, how by using the /Q, how they can kick somebody from a room if necessary. If you get a troll in the room, you're going to want to go to the chat on the far right side, and there's a small X if you're a host that'll show up in the lower corner of that display. Okay. Now, as far as creating a co-host, all you have to do is pick on that person's name here in Blab, and you can get to the screen that shows their profile. And there's a little H symbol to the left of their name with a plus sign. So like here. Right. Boom! I just made you a host. Okay. Now it's going to only take. It's only going to take a second. You're going to see a pop up that's going to say you're now a co-host. So that gives you that opportunity to control the questions on the left-hand side. It gives you the authority to kick people from the room. It gives you the authority to delete people from the chat. And they've taken it one step further. Go ahead.
I was going to say, David's not in here. I can't kick him out.
No, that's true.
Here's what you can do: is you can go down there now and watch. You can actually look at what I just typed. Go over there, find the X, and delete that.
Yep. You'll find the X in the lower right corner of the text that he just wrote. Come on. And you'll be able to make it go away.
See,
the theme of this Blab is over there in the corner, Mike. So you want to be a co-host, Mike? That's what we're talking about today. We're letting people know how to run a show if they wanted to run a show.
Okay.
Okay, so you just deleted his comment. Now you could kick Tim from the room if you wanted to. Let's be nice to him today, though.
I don't have these privileges. Only you do.
I haven't given Tim co-host privileges yet. See, so Grammy,
goodness.
You should feel honored.
You got to watch. You got to really watch if you can trust Tim to be a co-host.
Here's the thing. No, I like Tim.
Honestly, I didn't even think about it. So there, Tim is now a co-host also.
If it were David, he'd have been gone 5 seconds ago.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. Well, it's David. Anyway, I haven't seen him out here yet today. He must be busy.
He's working this morning. He's working. We've already chatted about this.
Now, the question that came up just now, and this is obviously the way to pop a question into the box. You'll see over to the left when you are a co-host or a host of the show, you'll be given another button underneath the question that says Answer Question. So when you pick on the Answer Question button, it is thrown into the open seat that's left behind. And even if the seat is locked, it will still show up in that position. This is supposedly going to be a place where they're going to allow for a possible screen share or an outgoing link in the future in that third, fourth window, depending on what's available. Even if you're solo, you could have it in your one next to you. So that puts it up on the screen. It shadows it out on the left in the question area. So now it's been grayed out. You know that that's the highlighted answer, the highlighted question. Now, you can actually delete it from the question bar on the left before it disappears on the screen. If you delete it on the left, it's not going to take it out of the Blab window in the center. Okay, it's going to remove it from the list of queue, but it's not going to take it off display. And that has to be removed by the X in the corner of the the Foursquare windows. And so here, if you kick someone out, can they come back into the room? They can, but you can also block them. And if you want to block someone, then they're not allowed back into the show. And you could go as far as, I believe you can block users in general. Can you not, Tim? I haven't really had the need to block anyone. I don't usually block people. I just, unfollow them if I hit. Or
if I just, or if I block, because I go up and hit the X, and and I've kicked them.
And I think there's a way you can go to somebody's profile name,
report and block user from stream. I've clicked that.
Yeah, that's the exclamation point to the right side of the person's face in their profile pop-up that shows up. Right. So rather than host to the left, where it says make person a co-host, you have the little hazard exclamation point that's red that says report and block user from the stream. So that person will not be able to come back into this live stream as it's running, and they can no longer bother your show. So if you do have a troll, you obviously want to usually, I usually give them the benefit of the doubt. If they get kicked out, they usually don't come back. They don't usually show up again. But if you don't kick them, if you have to kick them a second time, definitely block them. And that way they won't be able to come back in again. Mm-hmm. All right. Mike says he would love to co-host. Go ahead, Grammy. Go ahead. We'll answer Mike in a second here.
If I get rid of if I X out somebody's comment, that doesn't kick them from this so how would I kick them out without blocking them?
You can just click on their name, and the little profile pop-up will show up. You just want to kick them out of the room, you're saying?
Yeah.
No, I don't know that you can just kick them out. You know what? That's true. Now that we think about it, Tim, maybe you can't kick them out of the room without blocking them.
I think
I know it used to.
Report.
Yeah, you used to be able to do that, actually. I'm sorry, Grammy, you just caught us there. It's very likely that you can't do that then. Okay. So, yeah, it used to be originally, I believe, that you could do that, where all you had to do was kick them from their name, next to their name, I thought, on their profile, and they would disappear for a while and come back. So maybe I messed it up.
Okay.
Did I hear you need a co-host? Sandra, go ahead. Go ahead, Grammy.
I am going to jump out. This has been very helpful, and people have been asking for my link, and I will have to go and find it. I will. Is it okay if I put my link to my Blab in the chat in a little bit?
Sure. You know us. Yeah, you know us. Go right ahead. Feel free.
I know, but I like to ask first. As always, Leland.
As you should.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. See you later.
Thanks for coming in, Granny.
Thank you, Grammy. Appreciate it. Nice seeing you again. All right. And I'm just going to, and this is another thing, folks. If you have somebody on your show, if you're the host, let's say, and you bring in a co-host and you give them host privileges, when they leave your Blab screen and they're no longer broadcasting live, I recommend highly you remove their host privileges. Okay. And I'll tell you why. If you're the host of the show and you leave a co-host out wandering around in your Blab, even if they leave your Blab, they could come back in and kick you from your own show. I've seen it happen time and time again where people are either playing around and being goofy and just messing with folks, or they just have an irk that they want to, make a point. Maybe they got the privileges and they were kicked because they said something wrong, and they decide, oh, I'll show you. And they just continuously kick them out of their own Blab. So remove the host privileges from the people once they leave the room, at least once they leave the four squares. It's my highest recommendation.
I never even thought about that because the other day I was in a Blab and, I was co-host because they made me a co-host, and I was the one switching the title. It was a fun thing we're doing. I'm switching the title based on what the conversation was, and I hit the record button, so it's saving the recordings because of something funny that was being said. Awesome. And someone else figured out where I left it as they went in and changed what I said, but what the title was.
No doubt. That's insane. And I just want to make a note. Tech Stud Jason, thanks for the clarification there. He just confirmed in the chat that as a public platform, you can remove someone from the video window, but not the chat, unless you want to report and block them. So thanks for that, Jason. We appreciate it. And in case you don't know Jason at TechStud, he's one of the Blab team, and we see them frequent the show quite often. And Sandra, as far as John goes, John is on the road today. He had to leave out early this morning for a long trip to New Hampshire, I believe. I made a little fun and joke about this morning that maybe he was going to be the host of the Today Show this morning in New York City, but I don't think that's the case. So
he's host of the Tomorrow Show.
Yeah, there you go. He's host of the Tomorrow Show. And by the way, tomorrow's show, Tim, I'm going to go grab the link real quick while we're here. We have a big show tomorrow. We're going to have Joel Com and Chris Cubberness out here talking Snapchat. So it's going to be a really big show. Joel Com, if you have not attached yourself to him on Snapchat, you're missing out big time. He is probably one of the craziest Snapchatters I've ever seen out here. So give me just a minute. I got to get over to Jonathan's page so that I can get a link to, I think he made a link for this already. I could be wrong, but let's see here. So Tim, do you have co-hosts on the Tim Gillette show?
Wendy, my producer, is technically the only co-host I have. And,
I got you.
I used to have, but it's because she was the producer and she's always there. My daughter used to be. Before we were on Blab and live on video on the audio show, my daughter was the co-host with me, and we had 4 segments in the show, and she would lead the last segment of the show and close it out. And it was the way we did it was just a little bit different. It was a radio show. It wasn't the video platform like this.
Oh, I gotcha. And yes, Grammy, you can still. Can you still delete comments? Sometimes there's a slight delay in the coding that's going to, like, for instance, this question from Renee was, "Why don't I see an H by Grammy?" And Jason, maybe you can answer that, because honestly, I would have expected it. I gave her host privileges, Jason, and down there she was in the lower window here. She never did get the H in front of her name, so I don't know if Jason's still here or not. But that's one of those things that it's really just a technical glitch, most likely, being in beta, obviously. And I don't know if you guys have witnessed or not recently. There's been 2 major crash down on Blab here in the last couple of days. One was the other night, and one was actually yesterday midday. You may have seen the screen that popped up. I could probably show you, but it's like the owl floating off into space as an astronaut with the rocket ship on the other side, and the tether cord that connects is broken, and that's all that shows up on the screen. And it's
I missed that.
Oh yeah, I've got a picture of it, actually. I can show it to you here in a minute, but it was one of those things that people were having problems logging in at first, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything went black. And it was like kind of that whole idea, fade to black. And it was in outer space, lost connection and everything. So, and it was kind of funny. The Blab team out on Twitter had a picture of a guy in front of a desk with the little owl logo over his face, so you couldn't see who he was. It was like, "Sorry, the Blab team's on it. We're doing what we can right now. We're working on it kind of thing." And very funny. But they had a good sense of humor to keep it going. My video is probably fuzzy, and that's a good comment that you just made, Web Girl. So there has been an issue as of the last month or so with the quality of the video feed in the host window, which is the one I'm in right now, and that can switch. That's another thing as co-host you might need to know. When you're addressing folks in the displays, don't ever assume that what you see is what the other viewers see, or that Tim sees, or that I see. Like right now, I see me on the left, Tim on the right, the question down the lower left, and an open seat on the bottom right, which is probably what most of you see right now. But that's not going to always be the case. I could point to Tim right now and say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" But some people might see Tim over me up above, and it would look stupid because I'm pointing at him, but he's really up here on another screen above me. So when you start getting people rotating,
really, he's over there.
Yeah, right. When you start seeing, no, that's only during replays. That may be true. Text that. Okay, not live. So live, you can actually always see them where they look to everyone. They're always in the same screen. I'm just going to confirm that, because, and maybe that's true. And he's saying in the replays, you'll see. So when you do point, it may work for this period of time while we're live, but then on the recording, I might end up in a different square. So fix that, would you, Jason? Come on, let's get that fixed. Just messing with us, right?
Wax off.
Right. And see, like right now, Tim's video is getting all blurry on me. So
yeah. Yours has been blurry for a while. I just figured it was the drugs.
Oh, really?
In the 80s.
Wow. See, and on my end, it's perfectly clear. So You want you want to address that, Jason?
He said he's working on it. Yeah, he said he's working on it. So.
And feel free if you want to jump in here, Jason, if there's anything you'd like to address for when it comes to maybe some new features that are coming out or some new ways that co-hosts will be able to interact with their audience. And with regards to that, I want to address, because we only really have about 20 minutes left, and we're going to have to make this a 1 hour blab today, folks. I apologize. I'll stop the recording at that time. And if you guys want to hang out, feel free. I don't have a problem with that. But I want to at least address a couple of things here, and it's more from a professional perspective when it comes to hosting a show, co-hosting a show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And I'm going to take it from user experience and the fact that you've all watched Jonathan and I come out here on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. every day, Eastern Standard Time, doing Blab Nation. This wasn't always the case, obviously. When we started this show, Jonathan was a Periscoper who was coming to Blab to create an environment for his Periscope followers to come over and associate and get to know him better and work that out. I happened to show up one day, popped into one of Jonathan's shows, got to know the guy, and of course, me being the person I am, I'm kind of one of those outlandish personalities that has been in broadcasting for a while. So I said, Jonathan, you need to make this a show. Let's just get things going, and I'll help you. So we started to work on a show. But I don't take credit for Blab Nation for the simple fact this was Jonathan's original process, his concept. He created Blab Nation. I helped him work up a Facebook group. We worked together to produce content, but in the end, Jonathan is the producer. Jonathan gauges most of the guests. He creates the show's content. He's the one that comes up with the majority of the questions, and it's only been a few like Tim Schmoyer, John Aguiar of the Money Dummy blog, and a few others like Eben Eka. Those were people I brought to the show. So you saw me primarily take over as host or questionnaire or whatever you want to call that person. So interviewee, interviewer, whatever. So those were the only real places I had. Now, I've stepped on Jonathan's toes a few times as a co-host. I recommend to everyone out there, know your place. Know that as a co-host, this isn't your show, okay? You're there to help. You're there to work and work with alongside. Now, sure, at one point, would it have been nice for Jonathan and I, because I've run a show like this before, Blab Nation with Jonathan Best, see, I did it again. I did that before. I called him Jonathan Best. With Jonathan Tripp and Leland Best. You know what I mean? Everybody wants that.
I still think it should be the best trip you ever been on.
I know. I love that hashtag. We talked about that. Jonathan and I have gone over that, and we throw it out there every now and then. So it's one of those things. Hey, what's up, Jonah? I see you. What's going on? So when it comes right down to it, a co-host is a co-host. It's not the owner of the show. It's not the host of the show. You're there to help, but I recommend if you're going to co-host with someone, know what it is the two of you are attempting to achieve. Mm-hmm. Do you want to achieve a dual branded show? Do you want to be Blab Nation with Jonathan and Leland? Do you want to be, but that was not the case. It was never the case. And, I had to apologize to Jonathan. At one point I said, Jonathan, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to step on your toes here. It's just me. I get flamboyant. I get crazy. I get all outlandish and I start asking questions. And I used to sit there and watch Jonathan going, when's he going to shut up? When's he going to be quiet? You know what I mean? And it's like, you got to know that you have to shut up now and then. Okay. And I know my place. So for a little while, I might not have, but Jonathan, you know where we're coming from here. So for anybody that's watching this on the replay, I just really want to enforce the fact that a host is a host and a co-host is a co-host. Yes, the co-host is sometimes overlooked because they're doing a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. But if you're going to take that seat, know that you're going to be expected to follow up in the chat. You're going to be taking care of the questions. You're going to be silent for a good part of the show because you're just going to sit there and look pretty. Or maybe you're going to be behind the scenes and you're not even going to be the person in the camera window. Like I have Tim over here doing his hair. So, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So Tim, you got anything to add to that? I'm going to...
Yeah, one of the things I learned with Blab early on, and this was, I was glad I actually got to know Robert C. Stern when I first got on. He said the fact that he always took his shows with different co-hosts every time. As your co-host is the person who's over here getting people to tweet out and share it with Facebook and Twitter.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, speaking of which, tweet it out, guys. But he said, if I have a different co-host every time, I'm plugging into a different audience every time.
Amen.
So
nailed it.
Today, if I'm tweeting this out to my audience, all right, and Leland's tweeting out to his, and then tomorrow it's Grammy Dawn in here and she's tweeting it out as opposed to me, that's a different audience that, you know what I mean? You know, like today, this is Jonathan's show and we're all tweeting out for Jonathan. He's not even here.
Exactly.
That's the point of that. That's why I had Jonathan be the co-host, or I had Jonathan run my show for me. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where you're using other people's audiences to help build your show, and that's what the co-host can help you do.
Absolutely. All right, now we have a couple more questions I want to address before we run out of time, because like I said, I'm going to have to pop out of here almost immediately. Shannon, asks, is the block permanent or just for that show? It's tied to the show link, so yeah, it's only for that show. You're not going to block that person permanently from your life here on Blab, though I believe, did Jason split? Is there a way to block people? Yeah, he's still here. Is there a way to block people from ever getting in contact with you on Blab, Jason? I don't believe there is. That's what I thought. Okay. So he's answered that question for us, and I do appreciate that. And yeah, I would like to reach out to you, Jason, too. I did talk with, thanks for getting Hannah to return my email. I've talked to her also, or left her a message, some other things I want to discuss with you guys. All right, and then we've got Mike had asked earlier, and I typed this question in for him. He would love to well, maybe he didn't ask. I would love to co-host, but I'm too sensitive. I shrink at brass invection. I stick to criticizing people from the comfort of anonymity. And that's great. You know, that's what makes Blab so unique, is that there are some anonymous folks out here. There's some people that don't show their face on Blab and they just come on with their mic, or there's people who have black screens. And I like the fact that, like Roy, for instance, he comes in here every now and then, Monteo, he shows his face on a pic, but he does, because he's a shy individual. He's got some issues with that, and he readily addresses that. And he's just one of those kind of people that will come on here with a mic, but he won't go live on the video feed. I've seen others where it's just a completely black screen because they don't use a camera. And that's fine. If that's what they want to do, more power to them. The participation that takes place in the chat is what makes this platform so unique. It's been around for a long time with Hangouts, but it's that live interaction. It's the ability to address your audience and answer their questions and be involved with them on a one-on-one basis that makes this such a unique marketing platform. So with that being said, Mike, we'll go ahead and let you in for a minute. We've got Megan Allen asking, any tips on marketing your Blab, or is it all in the title? Actually, Tim, how do you market your Blabs?
I build relationships with my list to the point that if I'm doing something, they want to find out. So I tell them I'm doing it, and they show up.
So you're broadcasting it out with a link to your show through your email list on a daily basis. Well, your show's every week. So, but yeah, I would come into the room and I would use the slash mark down here and notify. I do it a lot when I'm in rooms. Well, that's another thing.
If you're on my list, you just got notified. Or if you're one of my followers, you just got notified I'm in here.
Another one we totally forgot to address. By typing /notify down in the chat box, and just give us 1 second here, Mike, and we'll say hello, obviously. Yes. Well, we can say hello. Hi. How you doing, Mike? Hey, good morning. The fact that when you type /notify, you'll have this small window pop up. And sometimes you actually hit it the first time, and I think it just accidentally adds a space at the end, and you have to hit it a second time before it actually engages. You're going to send a broadcast through the notification system to all of your followers here on Blab. I just sent a notify to 725 people with one punch of a button. So think about that. Excuse me. I got a lip skin hanging.
But, I mean, yeah, what you were asking there, you're notifying them, and while you're doing it, the idea is I went on here and I built relationships with lots of people. I went into a lot of Blabs, got to know a lot of people. That's how I got to have 1,000 following me, and that's it. You go out and you build relationships. Too often people come on and they're like, oh, I can do this, and then they put up a show their second day on here and they haven't talked to anybody. You know, and there's one person who's been in my Blabs, and I keep trying to push him out. He follows nobody, he connects with nobody, but then he wants to come in the Blab, and immediately when he gets in there, so go buy my product.
Oh yeah.
It's dude. There's a reason you're not selling anything. It's because you didn't take time to get to know any of us. Sandra can tell you that in hers. So
yeah, absolutely. Mike, what do you got for us this morning, buddy?
Something you just mentioned too, and I think this is correct. But if you do and then if you want to send it to a particular person that you're connected to, that also notifies them if they're not on your list. If you want to invite somebody in. So I think that works, right? I mean, I've heard somebody.
Yeah, why don't you type Joel Com over there?
That's what I was just doing. How did you know what I was doing over here? I swear to God, that's what I was doing. You read my mind.
He will be here in a matter of minutes if he's.
He'll show up.
But what I wanted to just say real quick, because I know you want to get out of here, is and I want to let everybody know this because I took advantage of it, is Jonathan was offering people to come in and co-host. So I said, what the heck, So I said, Jonathan, I'll do it. I'm game. And he reached out to me, and it was maybe a week or 10 days ago. I did the co-host with him. Nobody reached through, and I didn't get bit. Nobody attacked me, but it was it was a nice experience. And I met some, neat people and have continued to broaden my reach of people on Blab because of taking advantage of what Jonathan offered. So, hey, people, jump in and connect with Jonathan, and you can be a co-host too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and John, go ahead.
If you ever see my Rock Around Your Blog show, I don't interview people. I actually just talk about blogging or something with it. And I'm always, when you jump in there, I'm looking for somebody who can be there for the first hour. If you can be there for an hour, you're going to be my co-host. I pick you up, put you in the seat. And that there is going to get you exposure by going out and being in other people's blogs. But yeah, sure, I'll do the co-host.
Yeah. Right, and I just sat here and put some links out there, and then kind of added in there, played kind of the Ed McMahon, and it was a lot of fun. So I just wanted to encourage people, if you want to get your feet wet, take advantage of what Jonathan's offering on this great show, because you're going to get tremendous exposure by just kind of helping out. So just wanted to kind of add that. Great show, great seeing you guys, and I'm gonna jump on out of here.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you being here. All right. And he makes a great point. Him and Tim both make a great point, is that you're going to get your experience by jumping into Blabs. If you're not out there bouncing around doing what we used to call blab hopping, you're missing a really big opportunity to connect with a lot of people, especially the show hosts. They're the ones that are going to recognize you by name and by face after you've joined a Blab. They don't see who you are. Nobody as a host is over here picking on everybody's name, trying to get a look at your picture to see who you are. The only way they're going to remember you and actually that you're going to resonate with them as a potential person to become part of a show is to show your face and get involved with the show itself. So just a big pointer. So I think as far as the tips on marketing, obviously get the people to tweet, get the people to post out to Facebook, share your shows ahead of time. Don't schedule a show for 1:00 when it's noon. Schedule a show a few days out so you have time to promote. That's how you get people to come see your show. If you're just going to go out there at 3:00, fire one up and say, hey, everybody come to my show. I've had people scream out to me like, help, I can't get in. Nobody's coming to my show. Well, of course not. You just started it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come to that. You need to promote your show. So you need to share that link out. You need to tweet it out a few days ahead and get it going from there. So that's just like tomorrow's show. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, be here tomorrow. And I didn't do this for tomorrow. We've had this one planned for a while. So if Joel did show up in the room, which I didn't see him jump in, he's going to be out here. Yeah. With Chris Cuberness from over there in Copenhagen. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun because they're going to show you how to use Snapchat. This isn't going to be about how is Snapchat used in business. This is going to be, we're going to do some Snapchatting. We're going to tear it up. We're going to dig in deep and see what Snapchat's all about. So any other tips for marketing your Blab? Because that is an important aspect of this. Yes, put your Blab profile into links of other profiles. Talk about Blab. Be Blab. Make Blab your platform if that's what you want to do. If you're going to have a show here, put it on your business card. Make Blab your business card. Do that kind of thing. Create your show interface. Make it something serious.
Yes,
there's no
Jason,
Blab there. Yes, we know that. Jason's had to make it a point, didn't you? Do you see a check mark by my name? No.
Come on, Jason. I'm having fun with this. Okay, I'm telling you.
I love it. No, there has been, if you guys have been witness to this respect, a little blab joke went around recently by the tech team. Thanks, Jason. You guys created this monster where they were having. Oh, it wasn't you guys? I thought it was actually the Blab team that's there, but
actually,
it was.
We're trying to do it on Periscope now to get people to actually think they can get Periscope done.
A graphic went around in private messages off of Twitter that said, here, you got to have a check mark next to your name to be Blab certified. And people started using the emoji in their names and telling people, well, we're certified. How come you're not certified yet? And it went off like wildfire. It just kept going and going and going. So, no, if you don't have a check mark next to your name, it doesn't mean you're not Blab certified. Because there's no such thing.
I'm going to do a show on how you get Blab certified after this.
All right. Yeah, we're charging 95 cents an hour to hook you up with a proper training process, or a one-time payment of 1 penny. So that's
you know what, Leland? I should do a show just to see how many people will show up on how to get Jason will show up going, don't listen to Tim. Jason, yeah, right. Chat board saying, don't listen to Tim, guys.
All right, we got another couple of questions, and I got to rock and roll in about 4 minutes. I keep trying to pop this show up. I'm trying to delete Megan's. Can you do that one, Tim? Maybe you pop that up. Oh, that's another thing. Even though there is a host and a co-host, dependent sometimes I found, and Jason, maybe you can confirm, if the other individual puts the question up in the window, sometimes the other person can't remove it. At least I've encountered that. Let's see. Oh, he's maybe not there. Oh, look, that Leland Best is trademarked. Yes, I am. Okay, there it's gone.
Okay.
That must have been Jason must have deleted it for me. Okay. Yeah, I am trademarked. And the reason I trademark my name is so that no one else can use it. I have one of those names. And so does other people. But, you know, Tim Gillette could trademark the Tim Gillette Show. He trademarks that, I'm sure.
Show, but
Tim Gillette would be a little tough.
Tim Gillette, I'm one of 7 Tim Gillettes in public who are public figures. So
yes, and I did that. I did my trademark prior to recognizing any public figures with the name Leland Best, so that if people try to use the name Leland Best in a public forum or in a live stream setting, at least you can somewhat identify with who I am versus any other, and that's the main purpose behind that. So, Renee asks, how do you end the blab? There's a couple ways. I could just disappear all of a sudden. This would probably end after Tim leaves. But one of the best ways to handle ending a show, obviously, is to first pause the recording. Pausing the recording does not stop the show. That simply stops the recording process, and you can continue the show and then actually pick up the recording process again, which will be attached to the end of that first recording, and keep going with another topic if you wanted to. It's really a matter of distinguishing separate topics for a show. Yeah. And then moving forward. But obviously at the end here at 11 o'clock, I'm going to pause this recording, and I will probably leave the blab, and I'm going to let Tim just hang out. If you guys want to hang out here and just shoot the crap, that's fine. You guys can talk about, and Tim has more than enough expertise and knowledge to help you guys out with co-hosting the show. And then when everybody leaves the show, that's when the recording processor takes over, and that's when things start to get processed. Now you have a few seconds to jump back into the blab. If not everyone leaves, that's a host privilege. A host has the opportunity to jump back in. A guest does not. But at least that gives you the opportunity. If you were like, oh crap, there was something we wanted to do, we forgot, you can possibly save face and get back in there real fast, and your audience might actually still be in the room before you leave, because you can still stick around while the broadcast is processing. I've sat and chatted with people while the processor was running, just to answer their questions real quick before I left the room. So that's one thing you can do. And then from there, once you leave, after that 3 seconds, you're done. How about an audible high five for Team Blab working through the glitches last night? Absolutely. These guys rocking. They are always rocking it. They do it well. So great job, Team Blab. And then we have Mike. One more. What do we got? I can't see. On other sites, what do we have? Tim, on other sites, co-host usually means someone who casts with you. But on here, it means operator's privileges or room mod. They should call it something else. I don't know. I guess if you have someone that's not. Like Tim's sharing the room with me. Yeah. I'm probably talking a lot more than he is. But Tim, what do you think about that?
You're worried about too much. You know what I mean? About what the name means. Who cares, really?
Yeah.
If I want to call you my co-host, I'm going to call you semantics. Thanks, Bill. That's the word. I was trying to think of the word. Thanks, Bill. Semantics.
There you go. A hat by any other name is still a hat.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, it's irrelevant as to what you do or what your purpose is out on the show. There's a host who owns the privilege to the show, who's going to receive the video and the audio downloads. Now, that is one feature. When someone hosts a show, you can go in and actually add a co-host. Do you recall add co-host add, I believe is the... Yes, it's /co-host space add space at the name of the person, I believe is what it is. Can you confirm that? There you go. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. He did it with the dot in front of it so he wouldn't actually create one because he has super user God privileges. I'm sure if he were to do that, he probably would have created a co-host for the show. So that gives you the ability by code.
Yeah, you add them and remove them.
Yep. So that gives you that authority in the chat window and you can do that as you create a show. Once you set it all up with the graphic and the time and the title and all that, you can simply go into the chat before the event ever takes place, throw that command in there and add a co-host that can have access and actually open the show themselves. So be careful there who you give host privileges to. If you've created an event and you give host privileges out, they could fire that event up at any time prior to the designated start time. So keep that in mind.
But that's when it comes in to trust it, because what I did for my radio show was Jonathan was going to host the radio show for me that day. Is I made Jonathan and then Wendy from the radio station. I made them co-hosts, and I wasn't even there.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to start it. But when you have someone you trust, they can go in and do that. So,
absolutely. All right. So here's tomorrow's show. Let me get some other things out of here. And if you want to join our Facebook group, it looks like my scrolling locked up on my. Yes, it did. It is. I know that one's probably gone, but to make it easy, I use the Bitly. It's just Blab Nation. If you know Bitly code, it's basically a short link, bit.ly /Blab Nation -Facebook. So, or FB. If you want to find us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/groups/Blab Nation. So you will get an invite by requesting one, and all blabbers are welcome. I ask that you don't share that particular link with people who aren't blabbers, because we have had some try to infiltrate the groups from outside. And that's another thing. If you have a Facebook group for Blab and you have a show and you're going to run a Facebook group, keep in mind that even if it is private or a closed group, that people can find you and try to get into your groups from the outside. You do want to go take the effort to see, are they blabbers? Mm-hmm. Check their username, check their Facebook page, make sure it's not a bogus Facebook page, because there are a lot of people out there who like to do that. They create bogus garbage and try to sneak into groups just to cause havoc and post links all over the place. So you don't want to do that. Blab co-host, I'm not sure what we got here. Evangelos has got a question here.
Blab co-host for hire.
blabcohostforhire.com. I'm not sure, but honestly, I know that has been talked about because the Blab co-host does play a big part in a show. That there's been talk, is there enough quality effort being taking place to recognize the co-host place? Are there hosts taking advantage?
Not up yet, so.
Yeah. Are there hosts taking advantage of co-hosts and not giving them recognition? Because they don't get the recordings. And there's even been some really strange talk, and I'm not going to go into it here because I haven't confirmed it with Jason yet, but I have addressed this issue with them, and he knows what I'm talking about. We're going to get into some other nuances of people making claims of certain things going on with the video that may not be true at all. So I'm going to leave that up in the air for now, and we're going to get to addressing that on future shows, I'm sure, at some point. But it's all about behind the scenes stuff, not to worry about here. And I think, Cindy, we've covered the how to remove unwanted guests. There's a little X down in the corner of the person's name down there. So we don't know, Evangelos. Sorry, we could answer that for you. Again, here is the Facebook group. If you want to go find, that's one hyphen. Sorry, I accidentally put 2 hyphens in that text there. And Tim, I really have to rock and roll. Does the host know when someone in the chat is kicked so they know when there's a rogue co-host? Okay, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can address this real quick. Does the host know when someone in the chat is kicked so he or she knows when there's a rogue co-host? Not sure what you mean by a rogue co-host. Honestly, if you're giving out co-host privileges to rogues, then you don't know your co-host very well. Don't give co-host privileges out unless you know the person. Yeah. Make sure it's someone you can trust. That's probably the biggest thing. Now, like Abracadabra School here, this is one thing you'd want to do. Someone's trying to get into the chat. They've only been on Blab for 7 days. Says it's a place where each child is celebrated. We encourage learning and asking questions. So by reading the bio, I assume that Abracadabra School is probably a legitimate user of Blab. Sometimes if they say, well, I'm Stoner Child and I've been here for 0 days, don't let them in. Just knock them down until you're ready to. But I've let some people in that I don't know. So Abracadabra, do you have a radio on? If you do, you're going to need to turn that off. Ma'am, do you have a radio on?
Right.
Hello. Can you hear us? I don't think she realizes she's live.
No.
Abracadabra, you're live on TV. Would you like to say hi to our audience today? Hi. Well, she hears us, so she's waving, but she's not talking. She has a radio on, and I apologize, but Abracadabra, we're going to have to remove you from the room because the audio in the background is disruptive to the show. So I apologize for what I'm about to do, but I'm going to click on the X, and we're going to see it another time when you can talk with us, okay? All right, so just be kind, be gentle. Some people don't know what's going on out here. They've never done this before. So some people out here know exactly what they're doing, and they're out here to disrupt and destroy. Keep those out as much as possible. Yeah. So, Tim, I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to pause the recording here. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, so much for being out here on Blab Nation today. I am Leland Best, your guest host today, and my guest co-host, Tim Gillette of The Tim Gillette Show. Thanks so much for all your help today, Tim.
You bet.
All right, and that is it. We are